From the News Channel 5 network and Out and About Nashville, this is Out and About Today, sponsored by the Tennessee Performing Arts Center.
Hello and welcome to Out and About Today. I'm Brent Meredith. On tonight's show, I'll talk with a local attorney and straight ally who is stepping up to support the trans community, and I'll have your first look at this year's inaugural Franklin Pride, an event many years in the making. But now I'm joined via Zoom by my co-hosts Pam Wheeler and Chuck Long for the Buzz About. Good to see you guys again. Welcome.
Great to see you.
Great. So once again, we've got some hot topics here. I want us to jump right in. So right now, it's been a year. We didn't get to produce any April shows last year thanks to the pandemic and the quarantine and the lockdown that we've experienced. So a year later, we're here. We're in the, we're doing a Zoom and studio mixture. I'm just curious, as you sort of both reflect on the last 12 months, what do you think the next 12 months may look like? Some highs, lows, maybe some predictions, and Pam, I thought I might start with you this time.
Wow. Yeah, I saw an email earlier where we told everybody at the office that we'll be working remotely maybe a couple of weeks. And now, it's been a year. So looking back, I can say we got through it, right? I've had one vaccine. I'm very excited. So I haven't been to a restaurant in a year. I want to go to a restaurant. I might want to have a few people over indoors on a rainy day. For me, there were a lot of lows in this past year, and I want to focus on them. The high, though, I would like to share with you and our viewers is that during this year, Susie and I, we went through foster parent training with the Tennessee Department of Children's Services and became foster parents. We have our first foster kids like 2 days ago of this taping. So that is a high note for me because I seriously don't know that we would have done it if not for the pandemic, because we could do everything online. So that's a positive I'm going to leave you with.
Yeah, totally. No, I totally see that. Chuck, how about you? Highs, lows, predictions for the next 12 months?
Well, one of my highs, just personally, Tom and I, we cook dinner together every night now. That was something we didn't before. We would just kind of, put together whatever we wanted at dinner and maybe a couple of nights cook. But now we cook every night. It's a big deal, and we love it. And then on another high note, one thing, I miss family so much. Of course, I haven't traveled in the year. Family's in the Dallas area. But one thing that we learned to do is we have, security cameras in my dad's house. And my sister and brother-in-law and other sisters, they go over there often and take dinner every night. We look at the cameras every night because then it's not like Zooming. It's just like feeling like you're part of the family get-together, just talking about Wheel of Fortune or whatever the conversation is. And so what we've really learned to just kind of depend on that when we couldn't be there in person. So that was a big plus.
I can echo that 100%. Cooking at home more, spending time with friends. It's been some highs and lows for both of those. And I'm looking forward to being able to be in the studio with you guys again instead of having to talk through a camera, just like we do all the time now. But so I want to move on to our next topic because I really want to get y'all's opinion on this. So a little bit later in the show, I'm going to be talking with a local attorney who's a straight ally who wants to connect with the trans community. He's seen all of the legislation. He's seen the attacks they've suffered, especially recently, and he wants to provide some free legal services for them. But I'm curious to know from you guys, so as society becomes more and more accepting of sort of the L's, the G's, the B's, are the T's sort of at the end of that train? Is that what we're seeing now? Is that why you think we're seeing so much attack to that community now, whereas maybe 5 or 10 years ago it was all of us or even just the G's and the L's? And I thought I might start with you, Chuck, on this one first.
Well, I think, again, with the trans, I think there's a lack of understanding still, which is so frustrating. Recently on the transgender athlete bill, it was very disappointing that 2 of the House Democrats voted with the Republicans for the bill, which was very disappointing, and 5 voted basically abstentious, so like absent voting. So that did not help at all. And the reason was just amazing to me. They said, well, again, it really wasn't one of the more hot topics for their constituents. And so I thought, oh my gosh, you don't understand. And they also said, which was also very disappointing, that, well, if their girl was having to compete against a trans girl, it really wasn't fair. And I'm like, oh, once again, you don't understand. So we've still got a long ways to go on that.
Yeah, Pam, is that where the root is? Is it sort of the understanding? Do people maybe understand the L's and the G's a little bit more now?
Yeah, of course. And look at if I think back of what I thought 10 years ago, 20 years ago, I had a different vantage point. Look at who Rachel Levine just makes history as first openly trans federal official confirmed by the Senate recently. That's a big deal. That is, although I've certainly heard a lot of negative things. I've seen negative stuff on social media, but that's how we progress. I do think you all hit it. Until you know somebody who's trans, until you have been personally touched, you can just be, it's fear. It's about fear and not understanding.
Yeah, so we're seeing play out for our T friends sort of what we lived through was L's and B's, and like you said, being out and being seen and being noticed in the community is a big first step to combat that fear. So speaking of being out in the communities, it's spring now, finally, we made it. The days are longer, it's event season. You know, we would normally be preparing for a Nashville Pride in the summer. It's been moved to September. We've got a Franklin Pride now that's coming up that's new for the first time this year, that's happening in late July, and I'm actually talking to one of their organizers a little later in the show. But I'm wondering, how do you both feel about attending Pride events or really any other events in person over the next several months as things begin to happen? Sort of what are y'all's plans as you sort of get back out physically into the community for some of these summer and early fall events? And Chuck or Pam, what are you thinking first?
Pam thinks she's very excited because, like I mentioned, I've had one shot. I'll have another one in about a week, and it's going to be a summer of getting out and doing. I will be at Pride in September, and I'd love to hear what Chuck is going to do.
So you're planning to be in person at Pride in September and then maybe go to the Franklin Pride and some of the other Prides that are a little earlier in the summer. Is that still within y'all's radar, you think, maybe for I believe a May or a July and a May event? Good. So
yeah,
Chuck,
I mean, I'm excited. I'm excited about Pride being in September. That's a great thing. And I definitely plan on being there. You know, I'll be watching, you know, as we progress along and following, you know, what happens, but I think we're going to be doing it safely. I will have had my second vaccine on Monday, so I'm really excited about that. And I'm like Pam, I can hardly wait to just get back out. Dinners, I mean, to go out and you know, meet friends for dinner, it's like a major thing.
I'm hopeful that the rest of the community feels the same way and that they're ready to get out and be at the festival and be there in person. So I'm gonna, if nothing else, the three of us will be there covering the people who do show up in their masks. But we're out of time.
Sure.
As always, I'm gonna have to cut us off because we've got to cut to break. But after the break, I'll talk with a Nashville attorney and straight ally who's stepping up to show support for the trans community. Stay with us to find out how.